Hi guys, I'm Shmi and today you join me at the Col de Turini in France, driving in the Porsche 911R. But I want to do a fuel for thought and talk a bit about this, about the gearbox, about the manual versus PDK debate, and about what I'm going to order in my new GT3, the 991.2 911 GT3 that's due around the end of this year, early next year. But first, I've been driving in the 911R thanks to Porsche Ultimate Experiences, so you get the opportunity to come along, drive a car like this, take it up a road like this, or go along to join them at some other events, Le Mans, that kind of thing, track days at Paul Ricard with the 918 Spider, with the GT3 Cup. Basically, have the most epic dream days out with a Porsche you could ever imagine. And today I've been driving this up the Col de Turini, which you can see probably in my previous video, so check that out if you haven't already to know a lot more about the 911R. But let's get to the point for today, the gearbox. It is such a hotly contested debate for all of these cars these days. The purists arguing that everything should have a manual, every single car out there should have a manual gearbox. Obviously technology deciding that for race and for optimum performance and drive times, you should have an automatic, a double clutch, or a traditional like ZF style automatic gearbox. And it is such a difficult debate. So for the previous generation, for the 991.1, the pre-facelift, you could only have GT3s or GT3 RSs with the 7-speed PDK, Porsche Doppelkupplung, the dual clutch 7-speed gearbox, and that was sort of the only option until they made this, the 911R, which is heavily based on the GT3 RS, the 500 horsepower, 4-litre naturally aspirated flat 6, but with a specially developed 6-speed manual gearbox. And I can tell you, from driving this today, it is an epic thing to be using. Whether you're driving along like this, whether you get more aggressive in sport mode with the automatic rev matching, but just the combination of noise and the setup of this car is brilliant, which is why for the new car, for the new GT3, the 991.2, Porsche returned to introducing the manual option. So you can order it, or you can order it now with a manual or with the PDK, depending which it is you want. Now Porsche are obviously expecting a decent take-up from the manual, whereas beforehand they didn't necessarily, but the introduction of the Cayman GT4 with the manual in the Cayman platform and this in the 911R showed that there was demand from the purists and from Porsche customers, hence the introduction and options available in the new model, in the new car, which left me with a pretty heavy sort of debate in my mind, because I loved my Cayman GT4's manual gearbox. It was incredible, and I did about 10,000 miles in that car, most of which were enjoyed like that, dropping up and down through the gears, making us a lot of noise and having as much fun as possible. But now my garage has evolved slightly, so in my garage, and I have to look at this in the bigger picture, I already have a couple of manuals. I've got my Vantage GT8, which is a very pure manual driving experience, one that I truly love, different to this because the engine is up front rather than behind. Very much old school manual. The Vantage platform, it's over a decade old. We love it, it's amazing, and it's such a good driving experience. Then I also have the Ford Focus RS, which is rather different and much more similar, I would say, to this. It's got 375 horsepower thanks to the mount tune upgrade from 350, but it doesn't have obviously as much power and go as this. It does, however, have quite a short throw, a heavy clutch, a nice feel, a very sporty, engaging drive to it. So the Focus RS and the GT8 there for the manual side of things. Then I also have my old Mini, which is a manual as well, for just having a laugh, which it does brilliantly too. But what I'm thinking with the GT3 is a car like that is a track car. It's a car that is focused on driving on a racetrack. This was created as a special occasion car. It's a limited edition. It's a version of the GT3 RS, so to speak, where the GT3 RS is for throwing around a track with harnesses and roll cages in the buckets. This is for going out on this kind of road, on the Col de Turini, and enjoying in this environment. So this car makes complete and total sense with the manual gearbox. It's for driving experience. It's for not driving all the time. It's for taking out for special occasions, and it's for engaging with and, you know, pushing hard and driving a little bit like this when you want to and when the conditions allow you to. And it sounds so good, and it's so engaging and involving to do so. But the PDK in the new GT3 is faster. It's not 62 times, it's 3.9 in the manual, 3.4 in the PDK. So you're going to get off the line way quicker. Now that is quite substantial, half a second. That's, you know, an eighth of the time we're talking there. And it's when you're in gear, the manual probably can go nearly as fast, if not faster. In fact, the top speed of the manual is actually 1 mile an hour faster. The manual can do 198 miles an hour, where the PDK can only do 197. But I sort of feel like a track car, you don't want to be fiddling around for the gearbox. Yeah, yes, for a one-time experience you do, but for lap times, you want to be chasing, you know, the fastest possible, and the fastest possible is about using technology to your advantage. It's about using the technology for the gearbox to get as quick as possible around the racetrack and to have the quickest downshifts and to rev match perfectly every time. No human can do it as perfectly as the car can. Yes, you can have this system that blips it into gear, and yes, you can have it sort of set up so brilliantly like this, but it's never going to be quite the same as that kind of automated driving experience can achieve. So for me, for the GT3, I'm thinking buckets, roll cage, harnesses, track spec. And if I want track spec, I think I need the shifters, I think I need the paddles. So I think it's going to be PDK. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will tell me I should be more of a purist than that and have a manual. And if it was my only car in the garage, I would be very tempted by the manual gearbox, especially after driving this, especially after I've done this a few times and that down to first gear, and then this as well. That noise. So I would be very tempted by this if it was a one car, but if it's in a fleet of cars and it's the car you want for the racetrack, it has to be PDK, doesn't it? Am I wrong? Does that not make any sense? Am I going to get flamed if I order it with PDK? Is everybody going to tell me that is the worst possible thing in the world that I could do? I kind of expect so, but realistically I think more than half of the cars are going to be spec PDK, because I think a lot of the buyers of these cars want them for the technology or almost to use them every day, because cars are moving more and more towards being usable every day, and a GT3 with buckets, harnesses and a cage and a fire extinguisher and whatnot is still a car that you can go out and drive all the time in any conditions, any environment, and it works totally perfectly for the purpose. So PDK fits that naturally. I think I've heard hints that it might be about 35% manual, which is enough obviously to justify making it, but I don't feel like it's made specifically for the car. I mean, I haven't driven it. Manuals are coming slightly later than the PDKs. I'm sure in due course I will drive it, and I very much look forward to doing so and finding out what it's like firsthand. But I just can't quite see it, I guess, being as perfect as this is. Porsche made this car special. This is really, really something. And I think they have to be very delicate with what they're doing. If they make the GT3 as good as this, it's going to tread on a lot of toes in a very delicate, in a dangerous way that they need to be delicate with. It's coming, so we'll see in due course what it's like. I think first deliveries of manuals are like September or so. First deliveries of PDKs are kind of right now, July. So yeah, I'm kind of interested to hear your feedback on what it should be. I think I'm probably set in my mind that it's going to be PDK, but there is still time to change should I wish. But driving this has been what a manual is all about. I've got a love affair with this car. This thing, it's brilliant. The clutch is so perfectly weighted. The gearbox has a lovely short throw to it. Sorry, it just moves so brilliantly and easily. Yeah, it makes for a wonderful package. The only problem I have, by the way, with the 911R is that it has no air conditioning in this car. It's fully stripped out, lightweight flywheel, which makes it even better, by the way, to drive with the clutch. But no radio, no aircon, and I am boiling, so I'm going to have a bit of air for a moment. Just direct some air in, because it is hot today driving this road. But the PDK manual debate is clearly going to go on a long time. Lots of cars that did previously come with manual options have now lost that. Will there be a manual in the new Aston Martin Vantage or DB11 range, or have Astons, you know, what's going to happen on that front after the GT8? The manual's been so popular with the Vantage platform throughout its time. Ferraris, no manual options. McLarens, no manual options. Lamborghinis, no manual options. So in the supercar world, that's very much the trend. However, you can have a Pagani, you can have a Zonda with a manual, you can't have a Huayra with a manual. You could have a Zonda, and there are lots of these sort of 760 special edition style cars being built with manual gearboxes, because there is a sort of group of people out there, a niche of people who do very much want that driving experience, and you can't blame them. It's old school, it's fun, but then you have to look at how the use of the roads is changing in general. It's all getting so different so fast. Autonomous driving, electric cars, what is the future? Car sharing? Is it sort of having a whole sort of world covered in Tesla Model 3s and an app like Uber and car sharing, where literally a generic car turns up at your door and off you go? And if that happens, we won't even have this anymore, let alone this. It's all going to change very, very dramatically. But for now, long live the present, because it's amazing. It's utterly amazing. In a world where you can do this and be this connected to the car is so brilliant. And the fact that these sort of manufacturers are still making them, and there are brands that still will release a car like this upon the world for us to take out and enjoy in this kind of way, is such a good thing. But for me, it's about the balance and about the whole fleet, about the garage, about looking at the bigger picture. And I want to take the GT3 and I want to drive the Nürburgring in it, I want to drive Spa in it, and I wanted to sit alongside my Aston GT8 and Focus RS, or maybe some other cars in the future. And I feel like that particular car should have paddles. I mean, yeah, each to their own, clearly. Purists, the noisiest ones amongst you, I'm sure, are going to tell me I'm wrong. I'm very wrong. At the end of the day, though, for me, it's not going to be one of these in the GT3. It's going to be the PDK system. It's such a good gearbox. The PDK shifts are so fast. Porsche have developed the most wonderful system for the double clutch gearbox, and they can't be faulted for it. So I'm going to go PDK, I think, unless I change my mind. You can tell I'm having one of those moments. But this, the 911R, do watch the full video. Driving it substantially harder than in this one. At the moment we're just sort of returning back to base, but we've been enjoying the car on some very, very proper roads and discovering what it's all about and why it's worth so much and what makes it so special. But I think I've talked long enough about the gearbox. Let me know down below what you think and what your sort of choice would be on a GT3, given the cars I've got in my garage, or if it was your only car, would you go PDK or would you go manual? But for me, I'm going to wrap this one up for there. Thank you very much as always for watching, guys. Fuel for thought this time about manual versus PDK. I'll catch up with you again very soon though on a completely different topic, so make sure you stay tuned, stay subscribed, and I'll see you then. Cheers! That moment when you stopped recording just a touch too early and the view opens up as we descend down from the Col de Turini. This is really quite something. Porsche Ultimate, thank you so much for this experience. If you ever find yourself in the chance to come somewhere like this, the Col de Turini, and come exploring on these kind of roads, don't hold back. Just wow, this is amazing. I'm going to leave you there. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Cheers.